to English, they don't know.
And what's the difference between strip loin and sirloin?
Strip loin and sirloin are two different cuts. You're gonna see them. I'm gonna make it. There's not gonna be any mystery after today. Click it. All right, so next thing we're gonna talk about is the tenderloin. This is the tenderloin, sits right in here. I'm gonna pull it out, pull it off of there. This piece here, this is called the sirloin flap. And this is a secondary cut. This cut is similar to skirt steak in structure and size, and they're selling this quite a lot today. I see this sirloin flap showing up on menus, even as sirloin flap, which is like amazing to me. In the French culture, this thing is called the bavette. The bavette or the bib.
So you can use it as steak, like tender cut?
Yeah, it's okay. It's like flank steak.
Thanks. Skirt steak.
Yeah, like skirt steak. Is it super tender? No.
Texture. Love skirt steak.
So that's the sirloin flap. They used to leave it attached because if you're cutting a short loin, this would be called the steak tail. All right? But in the modern society, they don't want the steak tail anymore. So they sell it as its own cut. Is the sirloin flap. Pretty tasty. I like it. It looks sort of like skirt steak, which we're going to see skirt steak in a little while.
In Mexico, it's really confusing because the brisket and skirt, we just call it skirt.
It's not that.
So we don't have the term brisket, so we just call everything outside called skirt.
What? Everything has a name somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like every culture has weird and different ways of calling cuts, and they always look at the other culture and they go, "Why? You ruined my favorite piece."
Yeah, like in Chinese culture, we go very specific on the shank part. Go so many like maybe 20 different cuts of shank.
Yeah.
It's like we love the shank.
Right? It's popular. So, I mean, for me to talk about it all, we would take a couple years to talk about every culture's way, and then you have like 2 weeks of cooking. That'll be, you know, that's good enough.
It's gonna be a butcher school. Culinary butcher school.
A week of fish, maybe. 2 days. That's enough. It's very difficult to try to teach all of meat, you know, in all the different cultures. My friend has a butcher shop in Rochester, New York, right? And his wife is Korean, and they met here, and they went to Korea to visit her parents, and he went to the butchers, the commercial butcher shops there to watch how they break down meat, and they're going through every little piece, like in a whole different way. Like the way they broke this down, they would go through every notch here, as opposed to the way that we do it with a bandsaw. He's like, they don't use a saw. And it's like, so cool. So he learned their style too, you know what I mean? There's like many different styles. So that's the flap, sirloin flap, right? To make it like a skirt steak, I cut it like this. And now I could grill it like skirt steak. It looks like skirt steak right there, right? It's tasty.
It looks like hanger steak too.
Yeah, it looks like that, and it tastes sort of like that.
Where's hanger steak?
It's right here. We're getting there. You gotta let it happen. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta let me do the whole show, because I don't leave anything out. Alright? So there, we turned the flap into skirt steak. Like magic. Put that on the high value side. We're gonna add to that.
Is there some part of steak that we use the screw and send it back to somewhere?
Huh?
Use off?
Is there some part of steak that we...
That parts like the skirt steaks, like the flat iron, flat sirloins. We use the screw.
We use everything. They don't always use it correctly, because I'm not in charge of everything. But they use it somewhere. Every chef thinks they know everything. You know what I mean? And then the butcher thinks they know even more. Which is true.
Yeah.
That's fine. Now, what I'm going to do is pull out the tenderloin. This is the tenderloin. It starts here at the hip and ends here at the 13th rib. Right? So we're going to pull that out. Pull this off like so. Off of the hip bone. This is the thick end of the tenderloin, sometimes known as the Chateaubriand. The thick end of the tenderloin right, can be sold as a separate item. The thick end of the tenderloin, this piece, when they make the short loin, right, for porterhouse and T-bone, this piece gets left over. So it's sold as a separate piece. You see it on the bottom there, on the right, in the middle by the line. That's the tenderloin butt. That's the thick end of the tenderloin. So they sell that as a separate piece sometimes. In the summertime, the price of it goes down. The price is low in the summer. Why do you think that is? In the summer, you're selling a lot of what? What kind of steaks? You're selling a lot of, no, you're selling a lot of porterhouse and T-bone steaks. So you're making more short loins. So that means there's more of these left over sitting around somewhere with no home. So what is the purveyor going to do? Drop the price so that they can sell them. What would you do with it in the summer? Yeah, you could grill it.
What would be the consumption of porterhouse steak in the summer?
Yeah, it goes up in the summer. More people buy porterhouse in the summer because they can grill. Right now, my grill is under ice, so I'm not grilling. There's two parts to the meat business. There's the food service, and then there's the retail. And retail and food service don't always mix, but they influence each other. You know what I mean? The retail market takes off. This cut becomes popular in the summer. That means there's waste. This piece left over. And then food service can look at it and say, wow, look at that. The price of that tenderloin is down. That head piece. In my restaurant, we would do weddings in the summer. And what do I serve at the wedding? Roast tenderloin. And what did I serve? The whole tenderloin? No, just this part. And what did I tell the customer?
You handpick it.
I tell the customer, oh, you're not just getting any tenderloin, you're getting the best, only the thick part.
Isn't it this part?
And I
best?
charge it more.
Isn't it short?
And it costs me less in the summer.
Isn't this the best part? The tail part is not tender.
No, the whole thing is tenderloin.
Which part is the filet mignon? Right? There's a
Filet
Southern
mignon
part of
is
this.
simply a tenderloin medallion. Any tenderloin medallion will be the filet mignon. Any part of this that is quality. You know what I mean? yeah, you have some rougher parts here, but you'll see tomorrow when we turn it into a portion. See, from here back, it's too small for filet mignon. It's only this thick. But we'll see it tomorrow. All right, so there's the tenderloin. And this tenderloin is now what we call a Pismo tenderloin. If you look up here, it says tenderloin full and then tenderloin Pismo. Pismo stands for peeled, in other words, defatted, side muscle on. All right, so we're gonna push this off a little bit more. That is now a Pismo like you would find in the bag. So if you've ever trimmed tenderloins before, that's what you took out of the bag and cleaned. All right?
Beautiful.
So we're going to clean that tomorrow and talk about the portions that are in it. All right? Today it's just about the HRI cut, you know? Beef tenderloin, Pismo. All right? You can buy it like this. The next stage would be to buy it denuded. In other words, we'll take off all of this stuff, and you can buy it that way also, you see? And then you can also buy it as tenderloin steak, as a portion cut.
Do you know how much more expensive it is to get it denuded?
Let's see, untrimmed it's about, right now, probably about $10 a pound, and then as a portion steak, it's about $16 a pound, so quite a bit more. In the denuded, like you see here, denuded like this, I'm not sure.
13.
Maybe more than that.
Because like every time the butcher puts a knife to it, the price goes up.
Yeah, every time the butcher's going to cut into it, the price is going to go up. Exactly. And especially this, because this takes a trained butcher. Certain skills are a lot easier. Or if they can do it with just a bandsaw, it's easier, right? But this would require a trained person to clean it, to denude it, you know what I mean? That's the high value cut. All right, let's get going here. So now we're going to divide from here to here. There's a weak spot here we can just cut through, right? Through the vertebrae. But I'm going to use the saw so it's a cleaner cut. But you can see the weak spot right there. You could do it without the saw. And then here is the end of the pelvic bone or the hip bone. I'm going to cut this off. Maybe the saw. Now when I cut that, it's not perfectly straight, right? You see how it curves a little? What's worth more money, the sirloin or the strip loin? The strip loin is worth more money. So I took a little piece of the sirloin and left it on there. Now what's that called? That's called a robbery. Every meat purveyor does it. When you take out your strip loin tomorrow, you will notice that this extra little bump is on. That's part of this, all right? And sometimes there's bone connective on there, just like what I made. You'll see that tomorrow too. This is called the vein end, or the vein steak. It's the tougher end steak from the sirloin side of the strip loin, all right? We'll talk about that tomorrow, the vein end. So this is now the sirloin. This is the strip loin. It had a tenderloin. We stripped it out, strip loin. Okay? And then here's the end of the eye muscle here. Now click the clicker. Now we see the strip loin, right? That's what we're dealing with now. All right? Notice what it says: 2 by 3, 1 by 1, 0 by 1. What that refers to is the lip. All of this is the lip. So if you look at the eye muscle here, right, and 2 by 3, we would measure 3 inches from this side. This is the side that was attached to the rib eye, right? So we go from here, 1, 2, 3 inches up. And then on this side, we measure 1, 2 inches. And we cut this across like so. Alright? We left on this extra lip. You could buy a 1 by 1. What does that mean? That means we measure 1 inch, 1 inch. We take off all this. Or 0 by 1. We measure 1 inch and then cut it right to the end of the eye muscle. So we're taking off all of this extra fat. All right? Basically, those measurements refer to value. The higher the number, the cheaper the cut should be per pound. You know what I mean? Because you're buying extra fat. All right? So those are trim specs. When we talk about trim specs with a purveyor, they're talking about how much waste is left on the edge. You understand that?
Yes.
So when you call the purveyor and you say, I want strip loin, what more information should you give?
The specs on it, like if you want 1 by 1.
1 by 1, 0 by 1, or if you see it on a purveyor sheet, right, and it says 1 by 1, 0 by 1, you know what that means. And why the 0 by 1 might be more money than the 1 by 1. You're thinking, well, I'll just go with the cheaper one because I'm cheap. That's what I would say. But then the reality is I'm buying more fat. So it might not be cheaper. It might be the same price or even more money.
But chef, isn't that only those like couple of inches that are just fat?
Yeah, it's basically, I mean, there's a little bit of meat in there,
Okay.
but it's basically fat. All right, so you're buying extra waste. Now, there is a reason why I might want that extra waste. And here, let's get rid of this. This is going to be trim. We'll put this on the trim side. This is good stuff too. You could take this and turn it into
Stew?
yeah, or even beyond stew, because it's from the loin.
Yeah. The steak.
You could do it like this, into thin slice.
Korean barbecue.
You know, what would you do with this? I would cook that really quick. You know what I mean? Marinate it first, maybe.
Break some of that shit.
High heat. Or I could grind and sell it for $13 as a burger. We'll put this on the low value side. All right.
I don't see what happened.
So we'll talk about this again in a few minutes. Let's finish this off. What are you going to do with this strip loin? What's the main thing to make? Steak. And you can buy them either bone-in or boneless. The bone-in steak would be called the Kansas City strip steak or shell steak. The boneless steak would be the New York strip. Right? Some chefs will call it the sirloin, especially if they're influenced by England. The English would call this the strip, would call this the sirloin. Yeah. The English, so it makes some confusion there. It makes confusion. Where are you from?
China.
A lot of times they'll use the English terminology.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
European, yeah.
Because the English are everywhere.
I was in Singapore, so.
Yeah,
Singapore
Singapore
is
definitely
Spanish,
English.
Yeah.
Yeah, so from Singapore you would call this sirloin.
Yeah.
And they'll call it New York sirloin sometimes. All right? So don't get confused. And then this would be the sirloin here in the US. This is strip loin, had a tenderloin, you stripped it out, strip loin. This is the sirloin. In the English, they would call this the rump. All right, but let's not go there.
This is not sirloin anymore. This is wrong.
This is the sirloin.
I mean, like in England.
Yeah, they call it the rump. All right. So, what we're doing now is we're going to bone out this sirloin, and we're going to make what's called a top sirloin butt. All right. I'm going to hook my knife here and cut down along the edge like that. And when I do that, a lot of times I can create a bone seam. Where it will peel away. There it goes. Without even using the knife. This is where I use the hook usually. But I don't need it. So this cut is a little less value than the strip loin. This is what you used when you were upstairs on the last day when you made the sauce chasseur and you cooked off the medallion. We turn this into medallions. The sirloin is also popular in retail. They sell it as large sirloin steaks in the supermarket. And again, its popularity goes up in the summertime. So this time of year, I can buy this cut really cheap. So what would you do with it this time of year? I can make the medallions like you had upstairs. Okay, so there's the hip bone, and this is the sirloin. And then there's one little piece that comes off here. This is called the tri-tip.
Oh, the tri-tip.
Yeah. Tri-tip is popular in Southern California. You see tri-tip sandwiches, carne asada, things like that.
Do you make steak with a tri-tip too?
Huh?
Make a tri-tip steak?
Yeah, exactly.
It's
It's good, right?
sold in some fine dining restaurants, the tri-tip.
Have you had it?
Yeah. I thought it was very expensive.
No, it's not cheap, like as cheap as some others, but it's not that crazy. That's the tri-tip.
It sounds cool. Tri-tip.
And then also the tri-tip in it's one of those cuts. In other cultures, they cut it a little bit longer. They take it off because it bumps into the round. But in Brazil, they call this the picanha. Actually, the picanha could be the peak off of this too.
Brazilians speak Portuguese, right?
Who?
Brazilians they speak
Uh-huh.
Portuguese.
Yeah.
And Spanish.
It's a good, tasty piece. A lot of places will grill it with the fat on the outside, and then take it off, after it's cooked. But to keep it more moist, right? Well, we're gonna trim it down, but that's the tri-tip, all right? So it's another one of those kind of sidebar cuts that isn't super popular everywhere, but some people know it and love it. You know what I mean? Like it's popular with certain people. That's a tri-tip. Have you had it? Tri-tip? It's good. Look at the marbling. You cut across the grain, breaking the muscle fiber. See the marbling in there? Oh, so tasty. I dropped it.
Chef McHugh says anywhere's fine.
Huh?
Anywhere's fine.
All right, so this will be, again, high value. We'll put it on that side. Trim. Right. This can go on the trim pile. Extra piece. Tomorrow we'll take that stuff apart and make your 80-20.
Very good.
Right? And then this is what we call the top sirloin butt. Top sirloin butt you buy like this, or you can buy it already broken down into a couple of parts. We'll break it down tomorrow to talk about those parts. But this is now the HRI cut top sirloin butt. All right. So let's click this slide to see that. Oh, that's a strip loin. Go back one. That's a strip loin divided down the middle into what we call strip loin medallions. That would be similar to like a filet mignon. So if we take this and we split it down the middle, that would be for the strip loin medallion. All right. Some chefs are doing that today, but here nor there. Go to the next one. All right. So that top sirloin butt is this. Watch out. So that is that right there. All right. That's how big it is. And there's the tri-tip, and then there's the sirloin flap that we already took off. All right. So that's the sirloin divided down into its parts. And then click it one more time. That's the sirloin medallions that we're going to make tomorrow. Right? That's what they're going to look like, sirloin medallion. You can make sirloin steak. You could also make the sirloin into roast. It's a good, tasty piece. All right, hit it again. There's a sirloin roast, tied off, and then hit it one more time. And that's a grilled top sirloin steak, which is a good steak. It's not the strip loin, you know what I mean? It's not this, not the porterhouse, it's not the ribeye. It's the next level down, but still quite good. That's with a chimichurri sauce and some grilled artichoke hearts. All right, hit it. And then you have the flank steak, right? And then we saw the flank steak already. And what are you gonna do with that? Steak tacos, slicing steak, inexpensive steak, maybe stuffing. Okay? And now we get to the primal rib. So let's go to the rib. Get this kitty out of here. So before we can actually call it the rib, we have to take off the plate, right? You see the top right there? It says rib, and then underneath it is plate. We're going to take off the plate first. What time is it?
9. There's a
8:40.
clock.
We're still good, right? We have till 9:30? We're doing okay. We're going to review some of this too. Now this thing right here, this is a free agent. It's not really part of the rib. It's not really part of the loin. It's called the hanger steak. The hanger steak is part of the diaphragm of the animal. All right?
It's inside the
This flap here and this is called the skirt steak. The hanger and the skirt are joined together.
they're inside of the
I'm using my skirt steak. What does it do? It moves the lungs in and out. It's an involuntary muscle. It's always in motion. All right? Like the heart. So it's very flavorful. The hanger, I just use my hanger steak. All right? That's what that does. It's in the middle between the two skirts. All right? So it's part of the lung movement. So it's not a part of the lung, actually, but it moves the lungs, all right? So it has all of this membrane on the outside. So the hanger is a free agent. It's not really part of any primal. Now, the hanger is very flavorful. In the French culture, it's known as the steak anglaise,
English steak.
or the English steak, which is weird.
They hate English.
The hangers.
They're everywhere.
Those English. They messed up so much stuff. So, that's the hanger. There's only one per animal. There's only one, because there's the two skirts, and where they meet in the center is the hanger, right?
So the other half of the carcass won't have
No,
hangers
there
in it.
won't be any hanger over there. That's why I chose this one, so we could see it. Because we're AM1, we get to pick. All right, so the hanger you would peel. You take all this stuff off. Yesterday he had you peel like this, right? I don't like that. You know why? I'm over here. I go like this. Same basic thing, except away from me. Because I'm over here. I don't want the knife coming at me.
Hey chef, is this like a specialty piece of meat?
Yeah, hanger is pretty special. You know what? Its price is pretty low right now. But sometimes it catches on, like all of a sudden everybody wants hangers and the price shoots up dramatically. It's a weird cut that way. You know, if like a certain chef decides hanger is the next greatest thing, you know, then all of a sudden the price goes up because there's only one per animal. It's relatively small, so it can be subject to price fluctuation. But right now the price is pretty low and it's very flavorful. It is a little bit chewy, but the fact that it's so flavorful can overcome that, you know what I mean? Like people are willing to chew a little more for more flavor. How would you make it tender?
Beat it.
Yeah, maybe the way you tenderize it, right? You could hit it with a jacquard knife and tenderize it, which I'll show you what that is.
Should I age it?
You can age it a little, but it's hard to age it because it's not big enough.
Where edge? Where edge?
Another thing would be to cook it in sous vide or cook it under pressure. And they got the new cooking methods, even without the bag, to do sous vide style today. So you're cooking it like that, where you're cooking it slow. The the lower and slower you cook meat, the more tender it becomes. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about braise either. I'm talking about really low, slow temperature to get this tender, and then grill it at the end, like real quick at the end. So sous vide, you're cooking it in the bag, taking it out, you know, and having it chilled, and then when the order comes in, it's already almost cooked, and then you just hit it with the heat real fast. I like it just the way it is. I don't sous vide much. To me, sous vide is a lot of plastic, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like plastic so
But sometimes
much.
you keep the meat in plastic anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I've had it with plastic.
We always store the meat in plastic.
We always do, yeah, I know. I get.
But then you
praise.
use double plastic one for storage and one for.
No, you can just dump it in there.
See.
You can't cook in the storage bag.
You can open it and put seasoning and put it and seal it and
Believe me, packaging is going to be a new thing because there's so much waste
Mm-hmm.
with packaging around the world. It's changing.
things taste amazing.
All right, so I peeled off the outside, right? And you can see down the center of it is a collagen line, collagen band. You see that? And for some reason, the hanger is never evenly distributed. There's always one side bigger than the other, but that's here and there. Well, you see it? See the collagen band? So to clean a hanger, you have to trim off the outside. Then you go down this collagen band like this. Carefully. That's one side. And then here's the other side. I'll do it like fish class. When we get to fish, we're going to be like this. You bring it close to the edge of the table. Put the knife in like so. Flatten the knife out. And then you go back and forth like this. Fish skin. Now you're ready to grill this, right? You grill it, marinate it, grill it, pound it out. Like you're saying, pound it. Gotta make it a little more tender. You could butterfly it open to get it lay flat. Very flavorful. Enough about hanger steak. You can see though, they take a lot of work, right? You know what I mean? That takes some work to get it there. You're gonna do 20, 30 of them in the morning? That's some, you better have somebody quick with a knife. You know?
Skirt steak. Skirt.
All right, now the skirt steak. Skirt steak, there's two different ones. You have this one. This is called the outside skirt. Right? This membrane would be off of it. The outside skirt, and then there's the inside skirt. Two different skirts. And the outside skirt is more expensive. Skirt steak is actually pretty expensive right now. It's so popular.
Sounds good.
So this skirt steak, peel off like this. peel that off. And then we take off the outer membrane. You can buy them peeled or unpeeled, right? This is unpeeled. It's a little bit cheaper, but there's a lot of stuff on the outside that needs to come off. You know what I mean? All this outer membrane. Have you had skirt steak?
Yeah.
Right? You know skirt steak? It's expensive today. It's used a lot for fajita. You know, like slicing grilled skirt steak. Like the hanger steak, it's pretty tasty. When I peel it, I loosen the edge. And then you pull like this. When they come in the bag, they peel a little bit easier because they're all wet. You know, this one's starting to dry age a little. Alright, that's that side, then you got the other side. Get the same thing again. You got peeled skirt steak. It's a fairly common thing to do in a restaurant that sells skirts. They peel their own. You see that fat on there? Some places will leave a fair amount of fat on when they grill it. Trim it down a little. This one has a lot of fat because it's so high quality. So, skirt steak. Got it? Cut it into sections. When you slice it for whatever purpose, sandwich or whatever your thing is going to be, you want to break the fiber. So you want to slice it at a little bit of an angle like this. See the fibers? Mm-hmm. You understand the importance of cutting across the grain?
Yes.
Cutting those fibers, right? It's really important to be tenderizing the cut. Skirt steak. Yep. Now that's the outside skirt. It comes with a cover. Then there's the inside skirt. That's a little less money. That's this one here. The inside skirt always comes peeled. It's easy to remember. The outside skirt comes with a coat on the outside because it's cold out. Inside skirt never has a coat on it. The inside skirt is lesser quality. It's a little tougher. It's wider. It's thinner. But they do sell it as skirts.